AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon. We have temperatures in the lower and mid-50s right now here in Fargo and around the area. And you're listening to WDAY Radio. You can also be watching us on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, or on Acres TV. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And what a beautiful day. Bridgette, I see you're out and about enjoying this weather. How are you doing today?
You know, really awesome. And I am so glad you asked where I'm at. I'm actually in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I just stepped out of the North Dakota Agri-Women's Harvest Bowl of Knowledge, and I am hanging out here visiting with you guys while the rest of our speakers lineup is going on inside.
Ah, super fun. I'll be up in my neck of the woods. I'll be heading up there shortly. You there all day?
Well, you know what? If you want to meet for a beer later, you give me a call.
Well, you might have to do that. Dean, how are you
doing?
Make
him buy.
Yeah, make me buy.
Make him buy, though. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm just looking forward to this weekend. Weather-wise, it is just going to be absolutely spectacular. Last weekend was great. It was windy as heck, but temperatures approached a record last weekend, and although we won't be as warm this weekend, it's really going to be nice. Lighter winds and plenty of sunshine. So
it'd be a great weekend to go book a round of golf. Maybe you can
I think that's in the cards.
Find Dean out on the course.
That or anything outside, really. Bike, hit the trails or rake leaves or anything. Get out and enjoy these these days. You'd like to think that these days are numbered.
Wait, they are numbered.
They are. Well, I mean, we'll see.
They are definitely numbered.
They are definitely numbered.
We all know the direction we're heading. We know what's coming up.
We do.
Halloween.
Halloween
is coming up.
Halloween looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, compare what year? What was it? 97, Bridgette, here where we had just a nasty storm on Halloween.
There have been several. I don't think we can just rule it down to 97,
right.
whether it was right before or after. But I think it was on the actual date that year.
Yeah, so where they actually had...
Well, what was it? A couple of years ago, we had a few inches of snow on Halloween.
Yeah.
So not this year, though.
No.
What of the last 7, there's been one Halloween that's been nice. And now we get to add a second one.
Yes. I'm sure the kids and parents will love that.
Oh,
they don't have to bundle.
Right.
Don't have to bundle up while you're taking the kids out.
Yep. So we're going to touch on the forecast throughout the show as well. Lots of ag topics and headlines that we want to get to today, including some factors to consider when farmers need to leave the farm. Touch on that.
Absolutely.
As well as 4-H reveals a plan for a $50 million gift. I can only imagine what that gift might be for myself. So we'll find out about that, the weather, and our guest today will be joining us at 1:20, Tyler Gisvold. He's a goat production. How many goats did you say he had? Like over 300 goats?
350,
About
right?
350. So this ought to be quite the
goats.
Story because it just started with one, and now here we are.
It always just starts with one.
Do you think he's going to be able to tell us how we can ship a goat to Taiwan?
Yes, actually he can. That was one of the things that I was hoping we'd get to is they do ship live animals overseas and how they do it. And I bet it's more than just an under-the-seat dog carrier on the plane.
So we'll touch on that and so much more coming up here on Weather and Ag in Focus. And as always, if you would like to join in on our conversation, ask us questions, anytime, feel free to give us a call, 701-293-9000. Again, that phone number is 701-293-9000. We're going to swing you over to ABC News, and we'll be right back.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. The U.S. economy expanded over the summer months. That followed 2 straight quarters of economic contraction. The expansion despite high inflation and interest rates aimed at reducing it.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen telling CNN she does not believe a recession is on the horizon.
I don't see signs of a recession in this economy at this point.
It comes just hours after a new report showed the U.S. economy had grown slightly after 2 straight quarters of decline.
Things are looking good.
The economy grew at an annual rate of 2.6% 6% in the third quarter, faring better than economists expected.
ABC's Rhiannon Ally. President Biden went to Syracuse, New York, trumpeting efforts to make semiconductors in this country.
Computer chip maker Micron pledging a $100 billion investment in upstate New York to build factories.
It's the largest American investment of its kind ever in our history.
President Biden saying Micron's investment, helped by the recently passed CHIPS Act, will help end U.S. dependence on foreign chip makers and create 9,000 jobs. Andy Field, ABC News.
It's the second longest sentence for a Capitol insurrectionist. A federal judge in Washington, D.C. sentenced Albuquerque Head to 90 months, 7.5 years in prison for dragging former D.C. Police officer into a crowd that beat him. The house fire in the Tulsa suburb of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, didn't conceal the murders. 8 people found dead in the burned-out house. Police spokesman Ethan Hutchins.
Through conversations with witnesses, we can confirm that a family of 8, which does include 2 adults and 6 children, did reside in the house.
Investigators aren't saying specifically why, but are investigating it as a homicide. On the last day of South Korea's annual military exercise, North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles toward the Sea of Japan. You're listening to ABC News.
The IRS doesn't mess around. If they want your money, they'll take it. They can take your paycheck and bank accounts too, even threaten your home or business. Don't take on the IRS alone. If you owe back taxes, the smartest thing you can do is call Optima Tax Relief. The experts at Optima specialize in a powerful IRS tax assistance program called the Fresh Start Initiative. And their clients that qualify are saving thousands. One call starts the process to stop the demand letters, stop aggressive collection actions, and stop the IRS from targeting you. But don't delay. It's important to act now while you still have options. Optima is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. Optima has already resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Get your life back. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima now for your free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Brr, sounds like winter out there.
Did you just say?
Yep, they sure did, and it's coming. Hi, I'm Matthew, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. Winter's on the way, and it's time to get ready, including getting new all-weather tires designed specifically for our icy winter weather. Take advantage of our current rebates and availability, and our team can have you ready for winter today. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Hi, I'm Josh Christie, father, husband, local business owner, and candidate for District 27 in South Fargo. I'm running for a seat in the North Dakota legislature because District 27 needs proven leaders who will represent their district and its ever-changing needs. As a third-generation North Dakotan, I want to help ensure that our schools are fully staffed, daycare centers are affordable and available, and that we do everything we can to combat rising costs and tax hikes and their effects on everyday families. On November 8th, I'd be honored to have your vote to represent District 27 in Bismarck.
Paid for by Josh Farrell, Brian Shaw, Treasurer.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, along with meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our wonderful and talented Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Bridgette, who's in? There's something in your back seat you might want to. It's not Halloween yet.
No, not yet. You guys can do that to
yet.
me on Monday, but right now it's all good back there.
Okay. Well, let's kind of touch on what we briefly touched on the weather of our area over the last few days, and we'll continue with the mild weather, as we said, over the weekend and really into the middle of next week. In fact, we could see temperatures approaching 70 for the start of November. That is crazy.
Pretty nice.
That's absolutely beautiful news. And was chatting with Gary Lezak of the LRC. If you're not familiar with the LRC, again, that's what we use to forecast long term. And as you all know, the LRC started roughly right around October 6th, so we're about 3 weeks into it, and hardly any precip at all.
We've had 2 systems track through that.
2, yeah.
Brought nothing and close to nothing.
Close to nothing. So, again, really at least what we're seeing is a positive sign with these storm systems rolling off the West Coast into the mountains. And with that being said, at least that's giving us a shot for at least if one of these storms would just slow down and tap that Gulf and get that moisture this far north, but they seem to be all diving south and missing our area. Could that be a trend for this upcoming winter? It could be. It wouldn't surprise me unless we flip the switch here by, let's say, the middle of November, because then we should be pretty close to having who knows, we might have another 60-day cycle this year, but if we go through mid-November or even up to Thanksgiving with hardly any precip around here, our agriculture community more than likely is going to be in big trouble for next year. Again, we still have about 2 to 3 weeks. We are seeing these storms rolling in off the West Coast. At least there's not a ridge off the West Coast blocking these storms from coming in, so that's good. But we've got to flip something here pretty darn soon, and we're starting to see signs of more moisture trying to get into our area late next week and possibly the following week. So fingers crossed on that. That's very important that we get at least 1 or 2 storms in here.
It really is. And, like we said, we've had the 2 systems that came through already, which produced nothing and basically nothing on the second time around. There's hope that when that comes back around the second, it's able to tap into some moisture, and maybe it'll give us more rain than it did in cycle 1. We've seen in past years that we've seen, one time it comes through dry, the second time it taps into a little moisture, it brings more moisture to our area, but it's, we just need to keep getting these storm systems to come through, and like you said, Dean, they just keep diving just a little further south, which is good news that they're bringing rain throughout the southern portion of the United States, because I'm just taking a look at the U.S. drought monitor right now, and we're looking at 70% of the United States is abnormally dry. Of that, about half, 50%, is in a moderate drought or higher, and the places that are getting hit the hardest, that's going to be down in Oklahoma, Texas, California, Nevada. They're in the extreme to exceptional drought, so they just need to get in on a little bit of that water, and
they're starting to get
that those systems are going through their area. We just want to make sure that we get in on a little as well, so our drought doesn't expand.
Right.
So I literally had a chance today through my Twitter chat at 11:30. I visited with a gal who's in Kansas, and she said it is so dry. They finally got an inch of rain in the last week, and they truly danced in the rain because it was such a surprise that they finally got some moisture. She knows that it gets them nowhere close to being out of the woods of a drought situation yet. And yet when we talk to some of our farmers in northern Minnesota, they've had a fair amount of moisture and they're not necessarily complaining. But we do know that as we creep further south and west, things change drastically. So let's just keep that in mind, that it's a variable amount of rainfall in so many places.
Yeah, definitely. And that southern Kansas, the Oklahoma border into central Oklahoma, that's where that extreme and the exceptional drought are taking place, again, over in California as well. And, I was a little surprised to see that central California is in the extreme and exceptional drought. I mean, they usually are every year. They're known for being dry, but they just got pounded with a bunch of moisture, if I'm not mistaken, over the last month or so. Maybe it was a month ago they got in on a lot of moisture up there into the mountains too.
It was about a month ago, yeah, but they're that far behind.
I suppose, yeah, being that far behind and then getting dry again.
Yeah, and consider, look at how low Lake Mead is.
Yeah, that's true.
That's going to take a while to hopefully get that back up to close to normal.
Right, and we touched on this, and go ahead, Bridgette.
Well, as you talk about Lake Mead and so forth, because we're talking about Hoover Dam and feeding down the Colorado River there, correct, gentlemen? So there's a lot of irrigation and cropland that uses that water. And so with Lake Mead being so far down, that's affecting irrigation of things further downstream like vegetable crops and so forth. So if you think that the drought in western states maybe isn't affecting you, it is. It may be you don't see it quite yet, but there will be spot outages at the grocery store for low supplies of product.
Right, and it definitely could be affecting us here right now. We're not in a severe or extreme or exceptional drought here in North Dakota. Outside of far western, they're in a bit of a severe drought out there. But we're dealing with the Mississippi River being low, and we talked about this a few weeks ago and last week on our show about the river being low and the impacts that has on our area with barge traffic. And if we're not able to use that river to send barge, which I'm sure a lot of people probably don't think we still do use the river for transportation, but we definitely do. That relies heavier on the railroad as well as the semi-trucks up in our area. And we all know that the railroads are having a fuss about everything. So it's, just little things like that. They all play together. It's very interesting.
And so it affects trade in ways that we don't even think about, but we are very much a global and national economy. So you just never know what might spark an interest or a problem in your world. You just aren't aware of it yet. And that's what we're here for.
Yep. Well, when we come back, we're going to get our guest on the line. That's Tyler Gisvold. He's the goat production, and he ships goats all overseas. We're going to find out what it takes to put a goat in a box and ship it over to Taiwan, and what his operation is, his story. How do you start from one and get to 350 goats? It's going to be I'm excited. I want to hear this story. And, Dean, you had a fun question, too. We want to find out what's a better pet, dog or a goat?
Or a goat.
Well, we'll find out and so much more. Remember, that phone number is 701-293-9000 if you'd like to join our conversation or ask any questions with our guest. We're going to get him on the line with us, and we'll be right back.
Angry outbursts, bullying, harassment, and emotional abuse. The allegations against State Senate candidate Dan Bomer are horrifying. Divorce records say the cops were called to Bomer's home multiple times, and he had to be escorted from a doctor's office by police. Worse, Bomer recorded his young son while he showered. He recorded his wife while she slept and broke into their bedroom after she barricaded the door. Bomer even made her drive herself to the doctor while suffering a miscarriage. After their divorce, Bomer paid his child support late, too, weeks at a time, failing to provide for his young children. After all that, Dan Bomer wants to represent us in the state Senate. But after calling his own wife a cunt, stupid, a parasite, we should never call Dan Bomer senator.
This independent expenditure is paid for by the DFL Senate Caucus. It is not coordinated with or approved by any candidate, nor is any candidate responsible for it.
I'm Kristen Roars, District 27 State Senator, and I'm seeking re-election. As a nurse, I'm trained to assess the needs of those I'm helping and provide solutions. As our district grows, we need to address the rising cost of living, the struggles growing communities and farmers are facing, and the daycare and workforce shortages by electing legislators who have the experience and vision to get things done. I've accomplished many things during my first term and want to continue serving as an advocate and voice for the residents in District 27. On November 8th, vote to send me back to the North Dakota State Senate.
Paid for by Vote for Roars. Hayden Wysocki, Treasurer.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or have pain or numbness in your feet, call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7505. Again, 701-929-7505. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. It can lead to balance problems, complete loss of independence, and in some cases, amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start to feel relief from their symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone and call now at 701-929-7505 or find out if you're a candidate for our neuropathy program that has changed thousands of lives. Call us today at 701-929-7505.
Hillary Clinton is back. She's even attacking President Trump and MAGA supporters again. She now claims Republicans have a plan to steal the 2024 election. Now Dick Morris says Joe Biden won't run again and that Hillary Clinton will run. It's all in Dick Morris's new book, The Return. Dick Morris has been Trump's political advisor. You've seen him on Newsmax and top networks. In The Return, Morris reveals Trump's secret plan to win again. But Morris says Trump still faces three big threats. Former President Trump urges you to get The Return. And Mike Huckabee said The Return is the only book to read this year. Everyone is talking about The Return. An Amazon #1 bestseller. Get Dick Morris's The Return in bookstores everywhere, or check out the free offer from Newsmax and save $28. Just call 800-NEWSMAX. That's 800-NEWSMAX. Or go to The Return 911 to get your copy today. The Return 911.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette, Readel Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Meteorologist Extraordinaire Justin Storm. So we're thrilled to have you listening today to Weather and Ag in Focus. And as we have our conversation with our guest, you're welcome to call us 701-293-9000, and hope you're watching as well on the live stream, Facebook, as well as on Acres TV. Our guest, much anticipated, is Tyler Gisvold. Tyler is down in the Appleton, Minnesota area, but he's originally from Carrington, North Dakota, much like our guest earlier this week. Tyler has a background in farming. He also has been in the military. I met Tyler when he had just recently returned from some tours of duty overseas. And Tyler and his wife started out because, would it be best to say she thought goats were cute, Tyler?
I would say that, yeah. It started out her dad would never have one, you guys. And when I met Kinsey, she hounded me for weeks. She always wanted a goat, so that's how that whole thing got started.
So Tyler, first off, thank you so much for your service, number one.
Thank you.
And how do you go from 1 to 300, approximately 350 goats? How does this happen?
It's a really long story, you guys. Basically, it started in Hunter there when I was living in Hunter, and we ended up buying a couple goats from the Gisvold family over by Arthur. And that's how this whole experience got started. And once we learned that you could actually register a goat and there is a market for them, it just blew up.
Okay, because Tyler, these started as pets, right? Those two goats were just going to be a couple of pets.
That is correct. We were just going to have a couple of pets, and then Kinsey said, well, let's find a couple more. So we went up to a farm up by Bemidji, Minnesota, and we learned that they are registered. So we thought, well, let's get into the registered side of things, and we ended up buying a couple there, and it just blew up. It's hard to explain over the last decade how we've gotten this far, but a lot of it had to do with Trevor Bierke over at the Castleton Vet Clinic. Got us in on an embryo transfer, and instead of getting 2 babies out of a goat a year, we ended up getting 20.
Oh,
and that's basically once we let out embryo transfers, then it just really took off, and it's been like that ever since. Just busy.
Wow, I didn't know that about the embryo transfers. Okay,
yeah.
So when you say these goats are registered, what do you do with a registered goat? Because it's not like you just gave them a driver's license. What are you doing with them?
Yeah, it's similar to like the registered cattle, the full-blood registered cattle, full-blood registered horses, in that sense. Basically, what we are raising these registered animals for is all breeding purposes. It's all genetics. Okay. We don't have any market animals. Everything that we sell off the farm either goes for show or for somebody to use to get the genetics to breed. And that's it. A registered, just basically, it's just a full-blood South African boar. And that's kind of how it's done.
So what kind of genetics are you breeding with these goats?
So what we're doing, originally these boars came over from South Africa in the early 90s. They started importing these into the U.S. and basically that's basically how it started. We're breeding them basically for their build and color. A traditional South African goat is white with a red head, and for some reason they were able to get color in these animals, and which is called a dapple. And that's what we started with was the colored goats, and that's what people are after today is the colored genetics. So that's what we're breeding for. We've just hung with that over the last 12 years, and it's finally we can't make enough to keep up. We have a waiting list. It's that busy.
Oh, I would imagine. So I would imagine as you get the better colors, the better patterns on the goats, you can get more and more money for these goats, correct?
That's correct, yeah. If you have a rare genetic package, we've actually got a clone. We were able to clone a goat, believe it or not. Us and Transova Genetics from down in Iowa. We had a 1 of 1, and we were able to clone her. And it's easy to say, when you have a 1 of 1, you kind of control the market. And anything out of that doe that we have, anything out of that clone just seems to turn into gold.
I was going to say, because they do the same thing with clownfish. They breed for the pattern and the color in the fish, and you get these unique, different characteristics, and you get new patterns that have never been seen before, and you just get unrealistic amount of money for a fish. And so that's kind of interesting that they're doing that with goats as well, because when you initially had said that you're breeding it for genes and the genetics of these goats, I thought I remembered hearing a story back in the day, and this was just a few years ago, that they were incorporating silk or some form of silk into goat milk, and you're able to filter the silk out of the milk better than, say, like a general, like getting silk from a spider or something like that. Have you heard of anything like that, or people doing that, or is that just something that I read was completely wrong?
No, I think that is something that they're doing with more of the dairy side of the breed. With like the Nubians and the dairy goats. I'm not too familiar with that. I have heard that they are able to do that. I have no idea how. But yep, that would be on the dairy side of things.
Right. So what's the whole process look like when you're breeding for these genetics and these patterns? What's the time frame look like from, you know, you're trying and then you get it and then you're able to sell this different for breeding purposes?
Yep. So it starts, basically we don't do a whole lot of natural breeding at our house anymore. It's all done through IVF, lap AIs, flushing, which is just super ovulating a doe, and harvesting her embryos is how we're getting all this done. And then we started cloning a couple years ago. So there's not a whole lot of natural breeding, but basically the process that we're using, it's a 5-month gestation. So what we'll do is we'll super ovulate a doe and harvest her fertilized embryos out of her and put them in what we call a recipient doe, which is a Spanish breed. And they'll kid out a Spanish goat will have those boar babies 5 months later. And basically we will start selling those kids basically at weaning, about 3 months of age. We take those goats down south and to these big sales, and these people want them for genetics and show purposes, and they just, it's wild what people will, it kind of blows your mind. I know you wouldn't think about a goat being able to do this stuff with a goat, but that's just how it works.
Oh, and Tyler, there are so many questions that we still have. I mean, the fact that you are raising these, I know you've sold some into the Minneapolis market for meat. That's maybe changed, and you ship goats overseas. So we're going to go to the bottom of the hour news and commercial. We're going to come back, and we want to ask those questions because, as I said earlier, I don't think you just put them in a dog carrier and stick them under the seat of your plane on the way to Taiwan. But when we come back, we're going to keep visiting with Tyler Gisvold, and we're going to answer those questions as well as if you have any. Call us at 701-293-9000. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you ever thought about selling your home but quickly talk yourself out of it when you consider all the repairs, cleaning, inspections, open houses, and the unknown of what price your home will actually sell at? Stop stressing. We will buy your home as is with no appraisals or costly commissions to worry about. You can even pick your closing date. Call me, John Osala with JK Property Partners at 701-306-3229 or go to fargohomevalues.com for an instant valuation.
You can always count on Miller High Life, the champagne of beers. Always crisp, always easy drinking, always just right. The perfect balance of flavor and refreshment since 1903. Welcome to the High Life. '19 Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Celebrate responsibly.
Hi, I'm Kathy Scraw. Hopefully you've seen me at your door or community this campaign.
I believe that as a legislator, my most important job is to listen. Being a good legislator is about having a relationship with everyone. It's why I've served on the Agriculture and Human Services committees, because there we address the issues that matter the most to our farmers, parents, workers, and business owners. Send me back to Bismarck this November, and you'll continue to have a leader who listens and a servant of the people.
Paid for by Kathy Scrawl Victory Campaign.
There are a million reasons to love a pet, and a million more to love a shelter pet. During the month of October, Muscatel Subaru has teamed up with Homeward Animal Shelter of Fargo to find forever homes for shelter pets by donating $100 each day of the month for pet adoption fees. Having Muscatel Subaru help with adoption fees makes this a great time to consider adopting a four-legged companion. Go to homewardonline.org to see available pets and to make an appointment today.
Attention North Dakota farmers. When asked if he supported federal crop insurance, Rick Becker, candidate for the U.S. Senate, said,
"No, I don't support any federal insurance."
It's clear that Rick Becker doesn't understand the importance of federal crop insurance to farmers and ranchers. Without federal crop insurance, North Dakota would be just one natural disaster away from wiping out our ag economy. It is also clear that Rick Becker has little respect for our farmers and ranchers.
The American farmer was the epitome of a rugged individual that was on their own, that made their way, and they've become barely anything more than a tool of the federal government.
Rick Becker will end federal crop insurance, and North Dakota farm families will pay the price.
North Dakota Strong paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Learn more at northdakotastrong.org.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel, as well as our great guest Tyler Gisvold. He's doing goat production. He's breeding for the genetics and the colors and the patterns you get with these goats. And he's started with one as a pet for his wife. He's up to 350 goats now, and we just heard about that. So if you missed that conversation, you can go back on our website, WDAYradionow.com, after this is done, or on Facebook or YouTube Live as well. Go back and hear the full conversation. And we left wondering, what do you do with these goats when you sell them? Where are you sending them to, Tyler?
Yeah, so mostly we're selling these goats from basically weaning to 2 years of age, sometimes a little older. And a lot of the market for these animals is down south, Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana. There is getting to be quite a demand up north, North Dakota. I know there's some big breeders out your guys' way just starting up. And the overseas buyers have really, in the last 2 years, taken over, and they're buying this last sale we were in. They bought basically a quarter of the sale went to the Dominican Republic. So the overseas buyers are just crazy about these animals right now. We've had people from Dubai, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines. We recently got connected with a guy from Barbados that wants to get them on the island. It's pretty wild.
And Tyler, what do they use the goats for overseas?
Basically, they basically want to take what we have and start their own herd in a different country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like what we're doing with these animals, and they're just trying to start their own thing, and they're trying to find the right genetics to do it.
Right. So how do you, what's the process look like? How do you take a goat from Minnesota and ship it to Taiwan?
Yep. The logistics of it is pretty simple. Basically, we'll take and find a transporter to transport these goats after they're purchased to a port, either on West Coast, East Coast. It just depends upon where they're going. When they get to port, they're quarantined for 30 to 60 days at port, where depending upon what their Secretary of Ag demands for blood tests, they're blood testing for TB, scrapie, Johne's disease. They're basically making sure that the goats have no diseases before they leave the state. And after that, basically they'll put them in a crate, put them on a ship, and send them across the pond. It's pretty simple.
And you said that they're in quarantine for 30 to 60 days just to make sure that they don't have any diseases. They check their blood depending on whatever country, the government, the rules are with it. What's that time frame on the boat? Is this like are they on a boat for like another month and like a big cargo ship, or?
Normally, from what we've seen, it takes about a week. Anytime they're transporting those live animals, I think depending upon the country they're going to, it takes about a week to 10 days for them to get where they're going. Once they get on that boat, we kind of lose track of it till we see them on Facebook in a different country, if that makes sense.
Totally does. Well, we're speaking with Tyler Gisvold. If you'd like to ask Tyler a question, feel free to do so. Give us a call, 701-293-9000. It's your opportunity to get that goat question in right now, 701-293-9000.
Okay, Tyler, who's taking care of the goats on the ship? Because they're not just walking around randomly between the cargo containers.
Right. They have a crew that maintains those animals. How that's exactly done, I'm not sure. I would love to ride along to see how it's done one time, just to take a trip. Yeah. But I know that they have a specific crew that in quarantine watches those goats, feeds those goats, and basically takes those goats all the way till they're in port at the other country, and the buyer's there to pick them up. I wish I had the perfect answer for that, but normally when they get on that boat, we lose contact with them until they're where they got to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's just amazing.
Definitely is. And you had said you had gone from 1 to 350. What's the next milestone? Are you heading up to 500, or are you staying where you're at right now?
It depends. If we can get this quarter of land bought next to the house, who knows how big it could get. Kinsey says no more. Kinsey says no more. We're kind of maxed out right now.
She says no more, but she's the one who started the whole thing.
And that's the thing. It's a lot of work, and sometimes, they're not a real hardy animal, and sometimes you got to have really thick skin to raise these animals, and but most of the time it's good. But yeah, she when we get in a little tussle over the goat problems, I always remind her, well, you're the one that wanted them in the first place.
Yeah, I wanted one, not a whole business.
Yeah. No, but she's been good with it, and the kids love it. It's every kid's dream to live on a farm and have all those animals run around. So we enjoy it. And, it has its moments, and just like everything.
And Tyler, how are the goats with the kids? Are they pretty gentle, or do they get a little out of hand sometimes?
It's kind of like it's kind of like, I hate to say it, but they're kind of like dogs. It's the way you raise them. Most of the times they're very, very good. Once in a while we'll have a buck that will get a little ornery, but 9 times out of 10 the goats are very well behaved.
Yeah,
we don't about the kids too much.
I was in Arizona a few years ago. We were out on a ranch, and they had a pet goat, and they named that pet goat. And he would walk over. He would never charge or run at you, but like he would square up with you. He'd walk over to you. He'd put his head down and rest it against your leg.
Yep.
It's
Yep,
just,
they want to play.
So that
Yep,
goes on to
that's
this question.
absolutely
What makes a better pet, a goat or a dog?
Oh boy, that depends. You get the right goat, I would say a goat.
Wow.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Mhm.
A lot of people think they'll tear up your cars and they will eat your flowers, but dogs will drag things around, and goats are just there. You wouldn't want to leave your car in a pasture for a week, but they're pretty good. Yeah.
So
No,
when
they're
all
good.
of this was starting, Tyler, I seem to remember you saying you also had a market just to sell the goats for meat into the Minneapolis area. Is that the case? Are you still doing that, or you've stepped away completely to go to the genetics?
Yep. Now, a lot of times, if we get where we have something on our farm, they either make the cut or they don't. If they don't, any deformation or any type of foundering, we will take those goats down to Pipestone, which is about 2.5 hours south of us. And there are buyers there that will buy them for market animals, for meat purposes. Yep. So that's where most of our meat is going these days, is down to Pipestone.
And Tyler, I've got to ask this because it happens on many farms. Is there one particular goat where maybe one of your kids said, no, that's my favorite, we have to keep that one? Have you ever had?
Yes.
You have, okay.
Yeah. There's probably 10 of them on the farm right now. They were, and it's bottle babies. That's what gets the kids, is the bottle babies.
Yep.
Once in a while, we'll have a doe that rejects a kid, or a doe that passes away, and the kids get attached to those bottle babies. So yeah, there's probably 10 of them on the ranch right now that they're never going to go anywhere. They're going to stay there.
I see.
So,
and you were saying, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Tyler.
No, you're okay.
I was going to go in and say, you had mentioned earlier that raising goats isn't for everybody, and they're maybe a little on the sensitive side, or they're a little, I forget what the exact word was, but what does that look like? What all goes into maintaining these goats, and the amount of attention that they need, maybe, is a good way to put it.
Yep. Just like any other livestock, we walk through those pens every day, twice a day. We feed them twice a day, and they're prone to anything from pneumonia to parasites, just like any other livestock. So it's busy. We put up our own hay, and then they get a special pellet that we order from Indiana that is fed to our goats. Yeah, so it's a lot of maintenance. Every goat on our farm has to have its feet trimmed, unfortunately. So if you take 4 times 350, that's how many feet we have to trim, about 10 times a year. So it's
goodness.
They're very they're very needy. Let's put it that way. But there isn't a whole lot that I haven't seen. So once in a while we'll get a case where it kind of makes you scratch your head, but yeah, there's a lot of maintenance to them.
Okay.
You really have to baby them.
And Tyler, what about, I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube about the old fainting goats. That's a specific breed, correct?
It is.
Okay.
It is. I seen the one. That's a whole nother breed, just like dairy or Spanish or all the different types of breeds. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was you teach a dog tricks. Like, do you teach the goat how to faint? I mean,
just jump out in front quick.
I did see the Facebook post of the UPS driver and the fainting goat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
No, we're
I'll have to
take a look for it.
Yeah, you'll have to look for that one. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I can hardly talk because I've seen it.
Well, we'll have to try and find it, and we'll throw it up on our Facebook page, Weather and Ag in Focus.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, you can join in on the fun as well. Well, Tyler, go ahead, Bridgette.
I was going to do the same thing. I was going to say, Tyler, your time with us has been just phenomenal. Where can people reach you and the name of your business if they are interested in going from 1 to, well, just a few more goats?
Yeah, so our ranch is called Cow Towers Ranch, And most of the time, all of our advertising and stuff is done through Facebook, through the social media. And you can follow Kinsey or I. You can just look me up on Facebook at Tyler Gisvold, and then you can follow us on there. Most of the goat stuff is ran through Facebook. It just seems to work out better, and that's how we reach the international buyers so easy, is through Facebook.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Tyler. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you very much for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. And if you were listening and you missed out on our conversation, or you joined half or three-fourths the way through, you can always go back on Facebook or on our YouTube channel and watch the whole interview with Tyler, or on our website as well in the show archives button, WDAYradionow.com. We're going to throw you over to the American Ag Network, and then we'll be right back.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or have pain or numbness in your feet, call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7505. Again, 701-929-7505. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. It can lead to balance problems, complete loss of independence, and in some cases, amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start to feel relief from their symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone and call now at 701-929-7505 or find out if you're a candidate for our neuropathy program that has changed thousands of lives. Call us today at 701-929-7505.
Hi, I'm Josh Christie, father, husband, local business owner, and candidate for District 27 in South Fargo. I'm running for a seat in the North Dakota legislature because District 27 needs proven leaders who will represent their district and its ever-changing needs. As a third-generation North Dakotan, I want to help ensure that our schools are fully staffed, daycare centers are affordable and available, and that we do everything we can to combat rising costs and tax hikes and their effects on everyday families. On November 8th, I'd be honored to have your vote to represent District 27 in Bismarck.
Paid for by Josh Farall, Brian Shaw, Treasurer.
Looking to dress up your garage or patio? The concrete experts at Prairie Supply can help with any size concrete project. From design to delivery, we have built a great reputation renting equipment for your project needs. They have a large inventory of rental tools and equipment for decorative concrete, including stamps, polishing equipment, and a variety of tools designed to make your dream a reality. Prairie Supply, the contractor's headquarters. For more info, go to prairiesupply.com.
A fairly quiet mixed trading day on Friday to wrap up the week. This is the American Ag Network of Jesse Allen with this closing market update. Well, after we started with risk-off trade Friday morning, we slowly worked our way off the lows, especially in soybeans with support from soybean meal. We got export sales announced to China and Spain on Friday morning, but initially that didn't support the market as we had the risk-off trading. But once we digested some economic news, we worked our way off the lows with beans and bean meal again higher. The corn market, rising basis levels there, despite poor exports, are keeping that market in an uptrend. We finished just right around unchanged in a relatively quiet day. Wheat, the weak leg of the ag market Fridays, we are terribly overpriced compared to other exporters, and there's a chance of some rains next week in the western plains. Also, we have winter wheat conditions. The first ratings coming out Monday. Traders will be watching that closely. Livestock trade, hogs saw a recovery on the day Friday. Looking at final numbers from Friday, December corn, that was down 1.5, 680 3/4. March corn down 1, 686 3/4. November beans 5.5 higher, 1387 3/4. January up 6 3/4 at 14 1/4. December bean meal up $10 a ton, 425.40. December bean oil down 51 points, 71.79. Chicago wheat for December, that was down 9 1/4, 829 1/4. March down 9 at 849. Kansas City hard red winter wheat December down 7 1/4 at 925. Spring wheat December, that was down 5.5, 945. March down 5 3/4, 952 1/4. Live cattle October down 102, 150.37. December down 42 at 153. Feeder cattle November 25 lower, 177.87. December hogs 97 higher, 86.10. February hogs up 70, 88.85. That's a look at how the market trade closed on Friday on the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus here on WDAY and Acres TV. And also, if you're watching us on, if you're streaming us, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And the nation as a whole, let's take a look at weather across the nation. And really, it's pretty quiet. There's a big area of low pressure down in Texas, which has given some much needed rain to areas of Texas, Oklahoma. And eventually that's going to spread eastward into Arkansas and Louisiana, and then northeastward into the Great Lakes. And again, these areas need the rain, so that's fantastic news for them. Other than that, we're going to see our weather coming in almost directly west to east, right off the Pacific. That means a pretty mild pattern with storms generally going both to our north and to our south. Looks like that pattern is about to change as we head into next week. We'll start to see more storms enter the West Coast. Great news because they need the moisture, especially down into California and into the Rocky Mountains as well. And again, we need these storms to kind of slow down, tap the Gulf, and bring some of that moisture northward. Don't see a whole lot of that happening. We do see a chance for the next chance I see of any appreciable precip, and it doesn't really look that appreciable, will be late next week as cooler air arrives. And by cooler, only in the 40s. That's nothing for
Not
this.
too bad.
That's nothing for this time of the year.
Not too bad.
So we'll see. This pattern is kind of setting up very similar to what we had 2 winters ago. And if you remember, that winter was pretty darn tame.
30 inches of snow. Temperature is not bad, and then hot, drought-ridden summer.
Yeah,
Let's hope that doesn't play out the same.
It's looking similar to that, and yeah, for our ag community, yeah, let's hope not. But just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We will know more in about 3 weeks.
Right, and the big thing is it's not hit the panic button mode yet. There's
time.
Still time for the back half of this pattern to come back around.
Yeah. So but yeah, you'll definitely want to keep up to date with us when the LRC cycle does get set. Then we can tell you, you know what? Yeah, we're going to have drought conditions into next spring and summer, and it could be real bad. Or hey, no, we're going to get just enough moisture to make things tolerable.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, next 3 weeks are very important around here.
All right, Bridgette, I got to know. 4-H, they're planning on a $50 million gift. What are they getting me?
Well, this is actually a follow-up. I don't specifically remember Justin Storm's name in the release.
Sorry, buddy.
But
that was a big sigh.
Yeah, well, I hate to tell you this, but Mackenzie Scott, and we all know her from her split with Jeff Bezos, she got somewhere in the neighborhood of $39 billion, and she's committed to giving most of that money away. She's giving $50 million of it to the National 4-H Council. They want to do things like improve resources for their adult leaders who can lead the children and the students. They want to increase their digital footprint with a specialized platform, etc., for learning, which in this day and age, you need to be digital when you're working with kids. And they also want to expand programming to young adults and young children, because you see, 4-H has a statistic that says 25 million children in the U.S. do not have exposure to a leadership organization, and they feel they can make an impact. So here's a way to start doing that with those dollars from the former Mrs. Bezos, and I think that's a great place to start.
Well, that is really great.
See, you should have been. You should have been closer with her. You might have gotten a piece of that.
I shouldn't have said bad things about their rocket that they made.
All right. No money
for me. Well, I mean, maybe she could just give a little bit of money to everybody in the United States.
Actually, well, as a new father, Justin, just remember, in about 5 years, that baby can be a clover bud and can participate in 4-H programs and could be a part of those dollars.
Oh, well, there we go. There's a way.
There you go.
Not a direct way, but
there's a way.
Nonetheless, a way.
There's a way. And there's one other way that I wanted to touch on today, and that was there's a group of independent beef producers here in North Dakota called IBAND. They most closely align with the RCAF organization nationally, and they have the foresight to hold a seminar just before school started for school cooks and school lunch program administrators. And what they chose to do was help folks understand how to bring more North Dakota raised beef into the school systems. There's places like the Locker plant at Bowden that is providing hamburger to schools across the state, and it's all 100% grown and raised here in North Dakota. Additionally, there's a number of school administrators and school lunch programs that have said, There's kids in their programs that don't know any cut of beef besides hamburger. They don't know what a good old-fashioned pot roast is. So they're looking for ways to incorporate more of those cuts of meat into the school lunch program. And those locker plants are going to make it even simpler by doing simple things that help cut down on the time it needs to be done at a school by cutting the meat for the fajitas. Rather than relying on the school staff to do that because they might be shorthanded, the locker plants are making sure that that cut's available and sent off to the school for their use, and mix it with fresh vegetables and feed the kids.
Oh, super cool. And we got one more in here, and we're kind of flying through them just because we're a little low on time here. We went a little long with our guests, but what are some factors that should be considered if a farmer needs to leave the farm?
It just so happens, being here at North Dakota Agri-Women's meeting today, one of our seminar speakers was about farm transition planning, making sure that we are doing it before someone is ill or deceased and have to start making some plans you didn't want to do. So consider sitting your family down and deciding how you would like things to go, whether you're the parent or maybe you're the child who stands to inherit. It might be time to have that discussion. You could also find lots of folks who are interested in helping to do estate planning. I think we'll be having a guest who can help us with that coming up very soon. And North Dakota State University System, as well as Minnesota University Extension System, can help folks find planners, mediators, and resources online if you need them.
And Bridgette, we've got about a minute and a half left. I got a message from one of our local farmers saying, when are we going to get any moisture? He said, because he can't even finish his beet harvest because he does not want to till the soil. You're going to lose the moisture. He's like, I'd rather keep that moisture locked in if I can. So any suggestions on that? I mean, outside of give us some rain.
It'd be great if it would rain. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of other ways in order to take that crop off. There are folks that would typically do some fall tillage right now that are not, just for the reasons that you said, Dean. They want to keep as much moisture in the ground as they can. Also, they don't want to wreck any equipment because when the ground is this hard, that can happen. And they don't want to spend any more expense than they might have to. And lastly, sparks on a rock with metal could cause a fire, and they're trying to avoid those on windy days.
Yeah, definitely. With temperatures being so warm and as dry as it is, it's very, very easy for those fires to spread. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus today. If you missed our conversation with Tyler Gisvold, we were talking all about his goat production, how he started with 1, now he's up to 350. Who knows where he's going to stop. They're doing all sorts of fun and interesting things, and they're shipping them all around the world, where we found out how exactly what it is that he's doing. So if you want, go back, listen to that on our website or on Facebook or YouTube. That name would be Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be back tomorrow, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I should say on Monday. Enjoy the weekend.
You might be here
tomorrow.
It will
be beautiful. I might be here tomorrow. But we'll be back on Monday, 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we hope that you join us again. Jay Thomas Show is coming up next.
WDAY AM and 93.1 FM. Fargo.